The 443rd edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers, where you can win 100 times your entry. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus of up to $500. We're also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. And finally, we're brought to you by us. The MMA Gambling Podcast just launched our YouTube channel. To celebrate, we're giving away an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie. Just head on over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie for all the details.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 443 of the MMA Gambling Podcast and the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Going out to all the ghosts and ghouls out there and all those other people who are into spooky season, because spooky season is upon us, I've been told. So, boo. Thank you for coming to the show, whether you're listening to us on your podcast catcher of choice or if you're watching us on our new YouTube channel, MMA Gambling Podcast on YouTube. Thank you for coming to the show. I'm your host, Jeff Chalks Fox. One more regional MMA show, but it's a good thing. If you listen to our last episode, Gumby, my handsome co-host, went through how successful he is at picking winners in regional MMA fights. So this will be a profitable episode for sure. Once again, we're covering probably the biggest, well, at least North America's biggest regional MMA promotion, LFA, this week. Let's bring in the man with the dreamy eyes himself, and we'll talk a little bit about LFA 171. Hello, Mr. Gumby.
Hey, what's up? LFA, I'm going to anticipate all your questions. LFA 171, okay. Like CFFC 127, which we broke down on yesterday's show. Go back and listen to that. Or if it's in your podcast catchers, you probably already have listened to it. It's filled with guys who have failed on Contender Series, similar to the one before. Hyper prospects. But the other thing that's really interesting about LFA 171 is a lot of the guys on these LFA Brazilian cards have been snatched up either through Contender Series or otherwise in the last little bit. You know, like there's been a lot of influx of Brazilian talent. So a lot of the guys who've been on the main cards of the LFA Brazil cards are now not there anymore. And there's a whole bunch of guys who have like one career loss or, you know, just like one loss in their last 10 fights. Who had been on prelims and now all have been elevated to the main card through like sort of those gaps that got put in there. So this one's interesting. There's a lot of big show potential here, I think, of people who are just that close.
All right, there you go. He anticipated that was going to be my question. Maybe that wasn't going to be my question. Maybe I was going to say, what do you kid? How does Halloween work in your area? That's my question. I think we talked about this last year, though.
There's mix and matches. There's still people who like do like there are communities that do trick or treating, like old school knock on the door trick or treating. There's a lot of the trunk or treat has become a big thing. Where everybody goes to like a police station or something, and you know, like restaurants and dentists and stuff like that have their trunks open and give you candy, so the kids can stay in a safe spot. So it's there's a little mix and match, whatever your taste is.
And what are the costumes this year? We need to know.
We got Raphael from the Ninja Turtles and Iron Man.
Yes.
So pretty standard moves.
Why Raphael?
Because it was the one the store had.
Okay, perfect. Raphael is the one with the red bandana, correct?
Bingo. The one with anger issues.
Yeah, I know myself. Oh, yes. Raph has, he always storms off and whatnot. Yes. We survived all last episode. We didn't talk about the silly boxing. Do we have to talk about
it? Wasn't that
silly?
It wasn't that silly.
You watched it. Go ahead. I didn't watch it.
I did watch it. I had to watch. Well, so first of all, you know, spoiler alert, Francis is my guy. I somehow bagged a couple of interviews with Francis Ngannou way back when. Actually, after he became famous. It wasn't even before he became famous. Like most of these guys who I have like good relationships with, like Kai Bohai, who's now 5-0 or 6-0 in the UFC or whatever. You know, I interviewed him before he was on Contender Series. So, like, of course, same with Sean O'Malley. Like, I interviewed Sean O'Malley before his Contender Series fight and stuff like that. So, like, a lot of these guys before, but like Francis gave me the time of day when he was already famous. So like props to him for that. Super good dude. And so I had to watch it. And I mean, he looked good. I mean, like one of the judges gave him a scorecard, 94-95. And I don't think there was any disputing that was like a very legitimate scorecard. I think the problem is with boxing, the criteria is just like, it's not as well defined. I feel like there's more room for people to say, oh, well, you know, like this guy could have won this one. Because if you look, even like two different people gave 95-94 opposite sides. So as close of a scorecard as you could possibly have. And they have like almost none of the rounds the same. Like one gave Francis the first, one gave Francis the second. They obviously both gave him the third because he had a knockdown. One gave him the seventh, one gave him the eighth. And like, so like, I think there's a lot of, there's a lot more difficulty in scoring it because there's, you know, it's just punches and you have to guess how hard they were. And, you know, I think Francis landed the bigger shots. Obviously, he's the only one who got a knockdown. Tyson Fury's face looked worse. At the end of the day, I totally can see a scorecard for Tyson Fury. Everybody screaming robbery. I think it's kind of crazy. But, you know, the cool thing is he hung in there with the heavyweight champion of the world, the lineal heavyweight champion of the world. Couldn't put him away, and there was like a solid argument that he had won the fight. So, you know, like he's gonna make a fat bag after already making a fat bag. That rules. You know, I think it was Adam. Do you know Adam Martin, the Canadian MMA writer? He was like, he probably
he's Canadian too, is he?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think I knew that.
Yeah, he's another Canadian. You guys are all Canadian. And Adam Martin was like, he made 10 million, probably set himself up for a $25 million rematch or fight with, you know, Deontay Wilder or something like that. And the only bad thing is he wasn't eligible for a 50K fight of the night bonus.
Yes.
I was like, what a perfect joke.
Yeah. Are the true losers the UFC and Dana White in this?
That people are
like claiming.
I mean, like people will say that, right? Like they're the true losers, but like Dana couldn't win this. You know what I mean? Like Francis said he wanted to box and he wanted Dana to make no money. So if they let him do that, like they weren't going to make any money either. And yeah, like maybe is his stardom a little higher? Yeah, but I feel like at the end of the day, Dana knew what he was doing, letting him go. And it was really risky on Francis's part. And luckily it didn't wind up being the bad side of things. It wound up being the good side of things. So, you know, the UFC always finds somebody who will do it for less. So they don't lose ever. And Francis wins big time here.
There you go. How about the PFL? There's been my last question. Is this good for the PFL or not? Now that he actually did good in boxing?
No, probably not, because he probably won't fight for the PFL now, right? Like if you went toe to toe with the best heavyweight boxer in the world, or second best, if you like Usyk, like if you go toe to toe with the best in the world, why go back to MMA? Why not keep fighting these $10 million fights or $15 million? Like he's probably due for more than that right now. He got 20% of the purse. It was my understanding from Saturday's fight, which was 10 million. So it was 10 million, 40 million split. He's probably not due for half if they rematch, but he's probably due for 40%. So like, you know, like good on him. And why would you go back to fighting PFL against, like, who's he gonna fight? Junior Dos Santos? Like, come on now. Like, he's gonna fight Roy Nelson or Fabricio Verdum. Like, who cares?
It's like, easy money, but not enough money.
Yeah, well, and also like he clearly cares about the challenge, right? Like that's why he fought Tyson Fury. He cares about the challenge. What is the challenge in knocking Roy Nelson out at 150 years old and like way past even his prime?
Yep, it is true. Take that. All right. Now that we got all that cleared up, I felt we were contractually obligated to talk about boxing. We aren't, but I realized as we finished the last episode, hey, we didn't talk about boxing, but oh well. I wanted to kill some time, and then it wasn't killing time. Gumby gave you amazing insight there. Now we're going to break down LFA 171 after. Tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Big Underdog. Francis Ngannou almost came through, but you can always come through with Underdog Fantasy. What a segue. Underdog Fantasy has a way to play alongside your favorite football team all season long. Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 and pick 'em Scorchers and enjoy a spicy 100 times payout. And for a limited time, Underdog is extending the first deposit bonus up to $500. And if you want more, of course you do. $100,000 Sundays continues on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players will win $10,000 each week. Gumby, do you have a spicy play for us?
I do. Pretty much every single every single time there's been a baseball game lately, I've been taking the higher than half a single for Ketel Marte. The dude gets a hit every game, and yes, in game 2, he didn't get a single because he got a double. Or was it? Yeah, it was a double. I'm pretty sure. And so like he's got a single in all but 3 postseason games, and he's got hits in all of them. So like, why not keep riding him on the half a single? So by the time you get this, it'll be time for game 4. So hit him up for higher than half a single.
That means it has to be a single, though, right? A double does not count.
It has to be a single. We're not talking total bases, which is kind of the fun caveat there. But hey, look, he's gonna get a single.
Yep. There you go. Gumby guarantees it. So watch along, make your picks, and maybe make a little cash over on Underdog's mobile app or website, underdogfantasy.com. When you sign up with the promo code SGPN, Underdog will double your first deposit of up to $500. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN. And we're brought to you by us, the MMA Gambling Podcast Contest, the MMA Gambling Podcast. That will be us. Just launched their YouTube channel. Congrats to us. In honor, we're giving away an MMA Gambling Podcast hoodie to one lucky winner. Subscribe to our podcast, our podcast, obviously, but subscribe to our YouTube. Head over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie. Send a screenshot in the entry form there, and then you can enter the draw for the hoodie. And then you submit your entry. Boom. Easy as that. And make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's one of the prerequisites. So that, once again, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMAHOODIE. All right, where are we headed to? We're headed to Brazil, which is the LFA's home away from home. They have a lot of Brazilian events now, right? It's pretty much every other event, it seems.
It seems like maybe 1 out of every 3, maybe 4. But yeah, they're going there a lot more. And I mean, like, to be fair, the talent they're pulling out of there is well worth the trips.
All right. Do you like some fighters on this card here, Gumby, before we jump into it?
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 2.5 I'm into.
Half, the top half or the bottom half of the fighter?
I like the chunkiest part of him.
Okay, there you go. Say no more. All right, we're gonna start. Actually, let me give you the whole breakdown, and then we'll start with some chunky guys. LFA 171, Neves versus Cunha, Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, UFC Fight Pass, going down in Ginásio de Palvilho, Cajamar, Sao Paulo, Brazil. I know you haven't been to Brazil. I'm not going to ask you if you've been here. It's in a cage. There's 13 bouts. Let's jump into it. You haven't been to Brazil, right? No South America, right?
I've never been to South America. The only other continent I have traveled to is Europe.
I've heard of it.
Europe? You've heard of Europe? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to been to a handful of European countries, but no South America. Also, it's worth noting, you know, the UFC is in Sao Paulo this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So this is happening the night before. So like this is a chance for so many fighters. Like you have to imagine Mick Maynard's there, right? Like you have to imagine Dana's there. Like this is a moment. And when I was talking to Kai Bohayo before for Top Turtle this week, he gave me the name of a guy in the prelims. His name's Giovanni. Oh man, I'm gonna forget his last name. Palacios. Giovanni Palacios. Yes. He trains at Fighting Nerds and is a Cuban Greco-Roman wrestling champion. Which like that with the aggression and striking of Fighting Nerds makes him super fun to watch. He's 6-0, and Kai said, like, hey, dude, like, keep an eye on this dude. He's going to be incredible. If he doesn't get a contract fighting the night before the UFC, he will get a contract through Contender Series next year. So we're not going to break down his fight. I don't know what the odds are. Kai Bohayo says play it no matter what.
All right. And he's not biased in the least. All right. Let's start off with the main card fight. Chunky boys. I assume, are these chunky boys, Dan?
They're chunky boys.
It's a heavyweight fight, and it's regional, so it has to. They have to be chunky guys. I think have we talked about Richard Jacobi before? Jacobi.
We have, yeah. He was familiar. On Contender Series. He was on Contender Series.
Yeah. Right. It's Hitchard. Is it Hitchard Jacobi?
I mean, he's Brazilian. I think we're
should
mandated
be.
to say Hitchard. Yeah.
Hitchard Jacobi. All right. All the fighters we are going to break down are Brazilian. It's Brazil violence here. All right. Jose Augusto versus Rickard Jacobi is what we're going to call him. I'm going to tell you about no odds yet for this, correct?
Correct.
All right. Jacobi. It's probably Jacobi, isn't it? They don't make, do they make the J's wise?
I don't think they make the Jays wise. I think that's just you.
Okay, good. That's just me. All right. Jacobi is 7-1-1, 5 knockouts. He's been knocked out himself once. 0-0-1 in the LFA. 0-1 on Contender Series. Did win his last fight. 0-1 as a pro kickboxer. A year younger than Augusto. An inch taller. 3 inches of reach on him. Augusto Juju is the nickname. Or Gugu. Probably Juju. G-U-G-U. Do you know what that means?
I definitely do not.
It means Juju. It means exactly what it says.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
according to Google. All right. Augusto, 8-4, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted 3 times, so he's been finishing all of his losses. This is his LFA debut. He went 2-2 in Bellator. Used to fight down at light heavyweight. Is a regional champion or was 2012 pro MMA debut. All right, break it down.
So I think Augusto is going to be a slight favorite. Let's say -150. We'll get +125, +130 on the turnaround of Jacobi. I'm going to go with Augusto because if you watched any of his fights in Bellator, he fought. Do you know Alex Polizzi? He was in LFA for a little while. Alex Polizzi, super good at jiu-jitsu. He actually won the LFA belt by heel hook, if I'm not misremembering. I think like 4th round heel hook Polizzi won. So like Polizzi's jiu-jitsu is top notch. Augusto had him subbed multiple times. He had like a knee bar attempt. He had an arm bar that was crazy close. He like won in scrambles against him. Like he might not have the best wrestling defense, but both his scrambles and his jiu-jitsu off his back is absolutely sick. And goes toe to toe with guys who are also good at jiu-jitsu. And the reason I like him against Jacobi is because Jacobi fought. Do you remember Austin Lane? That's who he fought on Contender Series. Who is not a great boxer, but a really bad grappler. Which is maybe the nicest thing I could say about him is that like he's really bad at jiu-jitsu. Jacobi mounted him in like, I don't know, 35 seconds, 45 seconds. He just like took him down and was on top and in mount. And Austin Lane just did like the most simple bump sweep, the sweep they teach you to get out of mount in your like 3rd jiu-jitsu class. He did that, wound up on top of Jacobi and TKO'd him from guard. So for me, Jacobi just like, he's the worst kind of scrambler. He's the worst kind of jiu-jitsu guy. He's the worst kind of ground and pound guy because he was up against a guy I don't think of very highly when it comes to grappling, and he struggled there. And he's going to be up against a guy who scrambles exceptionally well. So I'll take Jose Augusto. I think you're going to get close to even money on him. If the props show up on this on these cards, because you never know with the regional cards if you're going to get props or not. Augusto by submission. I'm all over it. I don't know what the number will be. Augusto by submission.
All right. You heard it here first, probably. All right. We're moving up to, or actually down in weight, up the card, but down in weight, down to featherweights. Marcio Barbosa versus Gian Sarturi. And I will tell you about Sarturi first. He's 8-2 with 8 knockouts, and he's been knocked out twice. So kill or be killed, never gone the distance in 10 fights. This is his LFA debut. He's won 6 straight fights. Has not fought, however, since November 2019. Maybe Gumby has info on that. We shall see. He's not lost a fight since September of 2018, which helps if you haven't fought in 4 years. And he's an inch taller than Barbosa. Tikoto is Barbosa's nickname. 14-2, 11 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out twice. So both these guys, they owe us rounds, lots and lots of rounds. 1-1 in LFA, 4-1 over his last 5. He did get knocked out in his last fight. He used to fight down at bantamweight, and he's 5 years younger than Sarturi. All right, go ahead.
So Sarturi is going to be an underdog in this fight. I think you're going to see Barbosa. I'll say -225 on Barbosa, probably like +180, +190 on Sarturi. I'm going to go favorite again on Barbosa here. I think, the huge layoff for Sarturi, first of all, kind of alarming. No idea why it happened. And second of all, he's like really explosive, And that's like his only really exceptional attribute is how explosive he is, because he's not particularly technical. He's not particularly like a great wrestler or anything like that. Just like when he strikes, the bombs come flying. And when you're taking 4 years off, like I sort of worry that like that explosivity is gone. And with Barbosa's smart defensively. He's got good head movement, so that's going to help you against the guy who's sloppy and explosive. And then in addition to that, with Barbosa, is that like when he starts to find the confidence, when he starts to move forward, when he starts to let go of his punches, because he is patient, when he starts to let go, his combinations are really nice. Like he really starts to put like really nice combinations together. And I think that's all he's going to need here is like a little bit of safety early in the fight. And then after that, just to stay technical, stay smart, and he's going to light Sarturi up. So, yeah, give me Barbosa here. Probably a decent sized fade.
Are you going props again? Is he going to finish him?
I mean, like, neither of these guys go the distance all that long. I will say the patience of Barbosa would make me, like, maybe say, like, throw him in a parlay instead of, like, go looking for KO props. Because, like, he is super patient. He doesn't, like, put himself at risk ever.
Okay, sounds good. We are also brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets. Win bigger by betting smarter this NFL season with Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting analytics platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Research every NFL, NBA, MLB, and soccer bet with historical stats and data. Enter any parlay idea into Hall of Fame Bets revolutionary parlay optimizer tool to get hit rates broken down by leg, as well as an expected probability for the entire parlay. Start all players by hit rate for any bet to learn which players are hot and which picks have value. Stop betting in the dark and join over 30,000 users researching with Hall of Fame Bets to craft more intelligent, data-driven parlays. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit hofbets.com and use code SGPN to get 50% off your first month today. Start researching, start winning with Hall of Fame Bets. All right. We're moving down to flyweights. Alisson Murilo versus Marcos Degli. What are we saying, Dan?
I think it's Degli.
Degli.
I don't know for sure, though.
That's right. His nickname, Telandes, which means tie. He's 9-3, 5 knockouts, 4 submissions. So he's finished everyone. And at flyweight, very impressive. He has been submitted himself once, 1-0 LFA. He's won 7 straight fights. Used to fight at bantamweight. Even finishing everyone at bantamweight is impressive as well. Morello, Little Monster is the nickname. He should hook up with Vanessa Demopoulos, another little monster. Morello, 9-1, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, never been finished in a fight. 1-0 LFA. He's won 5 straight fights. Used to fight up at bantamweight as well, and he's a regional champion.
So for this one, I'm gonna say Murillo. I think these odds will probably come in close. Let's say negative 170 for Murillo, plus 150 on the return for Degli. I'll take Murillo here. I do not really love the way his stance is when he's striking. He like leans kind of forward, which means he doesn't have very much power in his punches. I'm hoping he kind of like works through that because he is super young. Did you have his age in there? I think he's like 23.
No, I don't have.
I want to say he's. I want to say he's. Yeah, while you're looking it up, I think he's 23. And he's a shoot the box guy, so I think like they're gonna figure it out for him. But like the thing I really do like about him, and I can't believe that like this is gonna be my favorite thing about 2 different fighters on this card. But I love the way he scrambles. Like when his opponent shoots a takedown, and like I do think Degli will shoot a takedown at some point in time because he does in most of his fights, but like from weirdly far away. I think we're gonna see Murillo like win in all of the scrambles and win in the jiu-jitsu. I'd see him. I wouldn't be surprised if he grabbed a guillotine or a Dars choke or a front choke or something like that. Like I think Murillo looks better there. I also think that like Degli's got really good kicks. But I also think like the way that Murillo leans forward, Degli is just going to like eat straights every single time he throws that kick. And Murillo is also just going to be on top of him. He's a shoot the box guy. You know, like he fights like a shoot the box guy. He will be in your face for 15 minutes unless he gets you out of there earlier. So yeah, I'm going to go favorite again. I'm going to go Murillo in this one.
He blew his 23 candles off his cake 10 days ago, Dan. So he's very young still. Yep. All right. Wait a minute. LFM interim lightweight championship. Why is it interim, Dan? Always ask.
There had to have been I actually don't know.
Okay.
I'm going to straight up say I don't know, and I'm going to put the intern on it. So give me 1 second.
All right. Intern get on that. 5-minute rounds, 155 pounds. Gabriel Costa versus Jefferson Nascimento. We'll tell you about Nascimento first. Todinho, Todynho. He's 10-0, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, 3-0 in LFA. Used to fight at welterweight. Costa, Pitbull. What a great nickname, Pitbull. He's 8-0, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 3-0 in LFA. Last 2 wins have come via knockout or TKO. Used to fight at welterweight as well. Was a regional champion, 6 inches taller than Nascimento. Break down the title fight.
First of all, you didn't ask me what Todinho was.
Go ahead.
Which is sort of offensive.
I'm sorry.
A toady is a tiny bird.
Okay.
So Todinho would be the tinier of the tiny birds.
So a tiny bird.
tiny bird. Also, I got the intern on it. Jacobi Jones didn't vacate the title because he went to Contender Series, but then lost. And as a result, assuming he will fight the winner of this fun Brazilian matchup. So in this one, I expect Nascimento to be, I'm not going to say a huge favorite, but a pretty big favorite. Like, let's say -215. We'll get like plus 190, 195 on Gabriel Costa. And I'm going to say I like Costa in this one. I haven't picked an underdog yet on this LFA card. But like my problem with Nascimento is he's got a lot of jerky movement. He's like one of those guys who looks like he's constantly moving his head from side to side or, like back and forth or in and out. And like not with any purpose. It's almost with like a lot of wasted movement. And as a result, like seems to like be tired or out of position because he's not moving for a purpose. So sometimes when he moves, he actually moves into a less advantageous position and gets hit. And so like that's a really bad sign against somebody like Costa, who I would say like, so first of all, he knocked a dude out not that long ago with like back-to-back hooks. The guy was like moving side to side, similar to I imagine Jefferson Nascimento does. And like he put 2 hooks on him. The right one put him woozy, the left one put him cold, and he just walked away. He's got really great head movement, and I low-key think he's actually pretty good wrestling. Like if he's not getting what he wants out of Jefferson Nascimento, I could see Gabriel Costa going to the grappling here. So I think we're going to see him at almost a 2-1 dog, and I definitely like Gabriel Costa here as so far what I believe to be the only dog I like on LFA so far.
Fantastic. You were getting a little too chalky for my liking there and for our listeners for sure. All right, let's go to the main event, shall we? LFA Heavyweight Championship of the World, not vacant, not interim heavyweight championship. Eduardo Neves versus Hugo Cunha, 5-minute rounds, 265. Cunha is the challenger and he's the silverback, 7-1, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions. So he's finished every one. He himself has never been finished in his 1 loss. 1-0 in LFA. He won that fight via TKO. 0-1 in 1 championship, the biggest promotion in the world in history of civilization. 2 inches taller than Neves. Neves Babazao, which is
Big Baby.
Yeah, there you go. 7-2. We've talked about him before, right? I remember this nickname.
Do you remember the other Big Baby, the American Big Baby?
Glenn Davis?
No. Although yes, but also Glenn Davis. Yeah, no.
Yes.
There was Marcus the Darkness Jones.
Oh yes, I do remember.
Yeah, we on season 10 of the Ultimate Fighter, we used to call
Ultimate Fighter again.
Yeah,
it all comes back to the Ultimate Fighter.
The Ultimate Fighter every chance you get.
All right, let me tell you about the champ Neves. 7-2 with 7 knockouts. Knocked out once, submitted once, so he's never gone the distance. 3-0 in LFA and is the current champion. 0-2 on Contender Series. Here it's a quiz. Who did you lose to in both his fights, Dan?
So the first one was Mick Parkin, and I think the last one was this season. Jahanta Davis? No, Jonta Denise. Jonta Denise? I'm going to say Jonta Denise is my official pick. Also worth noting, Hugo Cunha, scheduled to be on Contender Series, didn't wind up fighting on Contender Series, had to pull out due to a visa issue. He was going to be the original opponent for Martin Boudet.
Well, there you go. Gummy's full of interesting info, isn't he? All right, back to the champ here. He's gone 2-2 over his last 4 fights. Won his last fight via knockout. He's based on the last weigh-ins, he was 6 pounds heavier than the challenger Cunha, and he's 7 years younger. All right, break her down.
So I think Neves is going to come in as an underdog here, probably, let's say plus 150, negative 175 on the other side. I'm going to go dog to close this one out. I Remember when I said I was really into 2.5 fighters on this card?
Yes.
I'm into Alisson Murilo. I think the shoot to box 23-year-old, I think he's got a lot of potential. I'm really into Gabriel Costa. I think he does some really amazing stuff on the feed. I like his movement. I'm halfway into Bibijao. And the reason is because like it doesn't look good that he's lost twice on Contender Series. Like that is a really bad sign. There are not many people who get a third chance. You know, like Jamie Pickett is like one of the only guys to get 3 chances on Contender Series. But like he looked really good against Jonathan Deniz until he got knocked out. Right, like he was moving his head really well. He was peppering him with shots, and you could say the same thing about the fight with Mick Parkin. He was blasting Mick Parkin on the feet, and then he was like, "Hey, check it out! I can wrestle too." Had the position reversed, had his back taken, loses that fight. So, like, on one sense, I would say like fade the guy who keeps making dumb mistakes and getting knocked out or finished. Right, like fade that guy all the time. But he's young, right? Like he's not an old guy. And for me, that means there's potential to learn. I've been burned before by saying heavyweights will learn, but it seems like he's got all the building blocks for a big fat dude, which is exactly what he is. He like, and I don't mean that like hatefully. He's a heavyweight and he's got a belly, but like he moves so well and his like striking is pretty sharp and his head movement is better than most heavyweights already in the UFC. His head moves better than those people. And like with Cunha, he's patient and he throws lots of kicks, particularly like a lot of front kicks, but I don't think he does anything that was going to like hit Neves. And in addition to that, like I don't know that his wrestling will get to Neves. I just like I like everything that Neves does striking better. So like I'm gonna put those 2 losses aside. I'm gonna pray I don't get burnt by thinking a heavyweight will actually learn something. And I'm gonna say Neves at dog money.
All right, the champ at dog money. Hopefully around 150. Well, hopefully better. 150. We want better than plus 150. All right, let's recap. Neves, Costa. So hopefully we got 2 big dogs there for you. Murilo, Barbosa, and Augusto. Correct?
That's correct.
All Brazilians.
It's hard not to take a Brazilian. Although on the prelims, I told you about a Cuban.
Oh, did you? Okay, fantastic. All right, we're out of here. We're done talking about Cubans, Brazilians. We're done talking about everyone. Make sure you enter the contest we told you about, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/MMA hoodie. Enter that. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, MMA Gambling Podcast. The Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. Pop in there. Tell us how smart Gumby is and how much money he's made you with the regional picks. That's always appreciated. Twitter, SGPN MMA. And Gumby runs that, and he's at Gumby Vreeland. I'm at Jeff Fox Writer on there and on Instagram. I got a Substack. You should subscribe to it. Get all my writings in your inbox and my occasional podcasts. They've become occasional in your ear holes. That would be moneymma.substack.com. And Gumby's got a Top Turtle MMA podcast with a action-packed, stacked roster of interviewees this week. Tell the people again.
Modestus Bukauskas, Vince Pichel, and Kai Bohio all stopping by for this week's episode.
There you go. Make sure you listen to that every week. And sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Make sure you go there. We cover every sport there in written form and in audio form and in visual form, everything you got. So go to everything you need. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com and our Patreon, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Crush corporate gambling. Gumby, take us home until Wednesday.
I'm David Gumby Freeland. He's the tiny, tiny bird, Jeff Fox. And we will see you on Wednesday.